Imagine a dusty, unassuming bakery in Casilda, Argentina, where the air is thick with the scent of freshly baked bread and the sound of rolling pins echoes through the humble kitchen. This was the unlikely birthplace of a legend, Horacio Pagani. Before the roaring engines and gleaming carbon fiber of the hypercars he would one day create, there was a boy with flour-dusted hands molding not only dough but dreams. His father, a simple baker, taught Horacio the value of hard work and precision, lessons that would transcend the bakery's walls and reverberate throughout the global automotive world. But this story is not just about a boy and his father. It's about defying the odds in a land far from the traditional centers of automotive power. It's about a determination so fierce that it transformed a childhood obsession with model cars built from scraps and bakery leftovers into an empire that would one day challenge Italian giants. Before diving into the high-octane clashes and technical wizardry, let's pause. If you're a fan of real, untold stories of automotive rebels and visionaries, don't forget to subscribe to Motor Chronicles. We bring you the epic tales behind the world's most iconic machines. Now, before we journey further into Horacio's trials and triumphs, take a moment to share where you're watching from in the comments below. Whether a bustling city or a quiet small town, your story matters here, just like Pagani's humble beginnings shaped his destiny. Horacio's upbringing in Casilda was modest, marked by the daily grind of a working-class family. The bakery was the heart of their existence, and the boy spent countless hours watching his father mix ingredients and fold dough with a care that bordered on artistry. But young Horacio's mind was never far from his true passion, cars. With little more than scrap wood and discarded materials, he began crafting intricate models of vehicles, an obsession that consumed his youth and alienated him from many peers. This passion wasn't merely a pastime. It was an escape and a path forward. Despite scarce resources, Horacio's determination was unshaken. Every model car was a lesson in mechanics, proportions, and design. The bakery's workshops became his early laboratory, where flour and sawdust mixed with dreams of speed and precision engineering. The environment was not nurturing in the traditional sense. Argentina in the 1970s and 80s was a place of political and economic turmoil. Opportunities for a young, aspiring engineer from a poor family were practically non-existent. Yet, rather than succumb to circumstances, Horacio absorbed every setback as fuel. If you think this sounds like a classic underdog story, you're spot on. But here's a little spoiler for you. What seems like a simple tale of poverty and perseverance will soon twist into a saga of epic rivalry and personal vindication. Throughout his early years, Horacio showcased an uncanny ability to blend creativity and technical savvy. His father's workshop was littered with prototypes, wooden chassis, varnished wheels, and meticulously applied paint. These models weren't just toys. They were the blueprints for a vision that would challenge titans. The boy's reputation grew locally as the baker's son who built cars, a nickname both affectionate and mocking. But Horacio's focus never wavered. Sometimes, the biggest battles happen without engines roaring or crowds cheering. For Horacio, the struggle was as much against social expectations as it was against technological limitations. Many doubted that a boy from a humble bakery could ever reach the high echelons of automotive design. But this doubt, it only hardened his resolve. Before his eventual leap to Italy and the world stage, Horacio's story was one of slow forging. A block of raw talent shaped by a relentless poverty, a supportive but modest family, and the harsh realities of a country in flux. This chapter of his life planted the seeds of resilience, innovation, and the burning desire to prove himself not just a craftsman but a visionary. So as we peel back the layers of Horacio's journey from son of a baker to master of composites, remember this: great stories always start in the humblest of places. And with Motor Chronicles, you're getting the full, unfiltered ride. Stay tuned. There's plenty more coming from Casilda to the cradle of speed itself. Ready to dive deeper? Stick with us as we unfold the next chapters of Horacio Pagani's saga. where dreams collide with iron will, and where the taste of rejection becomes the fuel for world-class triumph. In the modest town of Casilda, where the shadow of big industry never quite reached, a young Horacio Pagani began transforming scraps into wonders. Surrounded by the scent of fresh bread and the chorus of a working bakery, Horacio's childhood was marked not by toys or gadgets, but by raw materials discarded or salvaged. Sawdust, wooden crates, and broken tools became the building blocks of his burgeoning passion. While other kids played soccer in the dusty streets, Horacio immersed himself in the meticulous craft of model car building, each piece a physical manifestation of his dreams. The boy's dedication was as relentless as it was lonely. Friends called him peculiar, sometimes mocking his obsession with miniature vehicles that required precise detail and an engineer's touch. But Horacio was undeterred. Each model was a step closer to understanding the complexities of automotive dynamics, aerodynamics, and structure. His small workshop in the corner of the bakery was both refuge and forge, where he painstakingly cut, carved, and assembled, learning through trial and error, celebrating small victories and enduring frequent failures. Alongside his burgeoning hobby, Horacio's formal education laid the groundwork. Fascinated by mechanics and engineering, he pored over textbooks, though often obsolete or incomplete, grasping fundamentals with a hunger that teachers sometimes struggled to satisfy. His questions were deeper, his passion uncommon. It became clear early on that Horacio was not satisfied with mere replication. His desire was to innovate, to surpass, and to someday build machines that would defy expectations. Nevertheless, the realities of life continued to press hard. Argentina in the 1970s and 80s was marked by economic instability, leaving families like the Paganis to struggle for survival. No amount of ambition could fully shield young Horacio from the harsh social order that often limited opportunities based on class and connections. Despite this, Horacio's father remained a quiet pillar of support, instilling in him values of discipline, precision, and the undeniable virtue of perseverance. Among the fragments of wood and glue, Horacio drafted his first visions of what he called the perfect car. This was no ordinary child's fantasy. It was a professional dream sketching the outlines of hope and revolution. The models grew more sophisticated, mirroring advances in materials and design theory. He hunted relentlessly through books and conversations with anyone who would entertain him. This synthesis of autodidactism and innate skill transformed Horacio from a boy with a hobby into a driven young man crafting the smallest of masterpieces. Every failure carried weighty lessons, every success, a precious gem of motivation. He learned about balance, weight distribution, and the importance of materials far before the rise of carbon fiber composites. This experiential learning would become Horacio's secret weapon in the battles down the road. Of course, the community still saw him as the eccentric baker's son, but nobody could deny that something extraordinary was taking shape behind that humble workshop door. Despite the isolation and limited resources, Horacio's resolve was hardened by an acute awareness of his destiny. His models were not mere playthings. They symbolized defiance against a predetermined fate. Perhaps fueled as much by social rejection as by pure passion, Horacio's work began to speak a language far beyond Casilda. A young dreamer, outcast by circumstance but undeterred, was silently preparing to take on the biggest automotive giants of the world. So, as the sun set over the quiet town, the flicker of hope in a young boy's eyes illuminated a path that would soon lead him far from the smells of fresh bread and the grains of sawdust into the roaring heart of Italy's supercar industry. The saga of a baker's son with tools made of scraps was only beginning to unfold, promising an epic tale of resilience, innovation, and eventual conquest under the most unlikely of stars. The young Horacio Pagani's journey from the dusty streets of Casilda to the industrial heartland of Italy was nothing short of a turbulent odyssey. Arriving in Europe, he confronted an environment vastly different from his homeland, an arena where opportunities were scarce and skepticism ran high. The Italian automotive scene, renowned for its passion and craftsmanship, was also notoriously guarded and resistant to outsiders, especially someone with a background like Horacio's. Yet, beneath this formidable exterior, a fierce ambition burned within him. Italy welcomed him with a cold handshake, but Horacio's resolve melted away any semblance of defeat. Facing cultural barriers and linguistic barriers, he threw himself into every opportunity to learn and prove himself. His early days in Italy were steeped in hardship, long hours, unpaid internships, and the persistent doubt that he would ever break through. But every rejection only sharpened his focus. He knew that every setback was a chapter of the battle he had to win. One of the most pivotal moments came when Horacio managed to secure a position at Lamborghini. This was no small feat. Here was a boy from Argentina, knocking on the gates of the most revered supercar manufacturer in the world. The industry insiders dismissed him as an outsider, a newcomer with no pedigree, but Horacio's work ethic and innovative ideas quickly caught the attention of his peers. His role as a composite specialist was initially confined to behind-the-scenes work, but his relentless experimentation laid the foundation for a reputation as an engineering prodigy. Despite the honor of working at Lamborghini, Horacio sensed that the traditional approach cloaked in Italian flair would never satisfy his vision of perfection. He was constantly pushing boundaries, refusing to accept conventional limitations that, he believed, stifled true innovation. The frustration simmered beneath every project, as he watched the company struggle with design and manufacturing inefficiencies that limited their potential. His desire to revamp automotive design from the inside clashed with the conservative corporate culture, setting the stage for an inevitable clash. The internal tensions grew as Horacio's ideas became bolder. He envisioned a next-generation supercar that shattered the existing paradigms, using lighter, more durable materials and revolutionary aerodynamic techniques. Yet, the resistance from management was palpable. They viewed his radical proposals with suspicion, dismissing them as impractical or too expensive. This conflict reached a boiling point, and Horacio's future in Lamborghini hung by a thread. The pain of rejection and betrayal fueled his resolve, igniting a fire that would later define his career. The heartbreak of being sidelined in the very place he helped elevate was profound. The wounds of being dismissed by colleagues he respected and the pain of seeing his innovations ignored haunted him, but they also became fuel. Horacio understood in that moment that true innovation often comes at a cost. You must take risks, endure rejection, and be willing to walk away from comfort if you want to change the game. Breaking free from Lamborghini was a decision fraught with risk, but for Horacio it was a necessity. The obstacles he faced in Italy had sculpted him into a fighter, someone who would not accept stagnation or limitations dictated by others. His departure marked the end of a chapter filled with hardship, but it also ignited the beginning of a new one where he would forge his own destiny, no longer confined by the doubts of others. As he closed that emotionally charged chapter, Horacio took one last look at the doors that had closed behind him. They symbolized rejection, indeed, but also an awakening, a brutal but necessary crumbling of the walls that would soon give way to his own empire. The scars of disappointment now served as armor. When the dust settled, what emerged was not defeat, but a hardened resolve to build something extraordinary, something that would someday overshadow the very industry that once rejected him. This painful yet pivotal period in Horacio's life was the crucible in which his resilience was forged. Every failure, every closed door, paved the way for the future he envisioned with unwavering clarity. His story was no longer just about a boy who built models in a bakery. It was about an innovator who dared to challenge the giants and ultimately changed the face of automotive excellence. That relentless spirit would soon lead him to one of the greatest victories in the history of high-performance cars. An incredible comeback that no one, not even his fiercest critics, could have predicted. Horacio Pagani's entrance into Lamborghini marked a turning point both for the man and the company. The young engineer, once dismissed as an outsider, rapidly positioned himself as the undisputed master of composites, the revolutionary materials that would come to define the future of supercar construction. But this ascent was anything but smooth. It was a high-stakes battle between tradition and innovation, one that tested Horacio's resolve and reshaped an entire industry. Lamborghini in the 1980s was a giant wrestling with its own legacy. The company, famous for its roaring V12 engines and flamboyant designs, was still largely anchored in steel and aluminum frames. Horacio saw an opening in the use of composite materials, carbon fiber and Kevlar, that promised lighter, stronger, and more responsive vehicles. His vision was bold, almost radical, to replace metals with these advanced fabrics that, at the time, were considered experimental and risky. The young engineer threw himself into research and experimentation. Tirelessly, he studied aerospace techniques and applied cutting-edge composites knowledge to automotive engineering. His workbench became a laboratory where strands of carbon fiber were layered meticulously, bonded with resins, and cured to create chassis and parts that could withstand immense stress while slashing weight dramatically. His quest was not just efficiency, but a seismic leap in performance. But innovation is never welcomed with open arms. Many within Lamborghini's ranks viewed Horacio's insistence on composites as a threat to the company's traditions and financial stability. There were doubters who saw carbon fiber as an expensive fad, too delicate or unproven for the brutal realities of high-performance driving. This created tension, a silent but fierce war between the old guard and the visionary newcomer. Yet Horacio's passion and results silenced many critics. The first composite parts he developed proved their worth on the track and road alike. Lighter body panels that enhanced speed, handling, and fuel efficiency without sacrificing safety. His reputation grew. Colleagues began calling him the composite king. But with recognition came challenges. As projects expanded, so did the stakes. Cost overruns, production complexities, and the constant pressure to deliver perfection with every fiber. Behind the scenes, Horacio's relationship with Lamborghini's leadership remained fraught. Despite his undeniable contributions, the corporate atmosphere was thick with conservatism. Promises were made but resources withheld, and his innovative ideas sometimes appeared boxed in by bureaucracy. For Horacio, it was clear. No matter how much he advanced the company, his vision was never fully embraced. Nonetheless, this period forged an unbreakable character. Horacio balanced the painstaking craft of composite manufacturing with a keen business acumen, understanding that to revolutionize supercars, he had to navigate both engineering and the politics within the Italian auto world. His efforts birthed breakthroughs that would eventually underpin the most successful cars Lamborghini produced in that era. As his expertise deepened, Horacio dreamt bigger. He envisioned a car that was not just lighter and faster, but a masterpiece of engineering and design, unhindered by convention or corporate caution. That dream, now fully formed, was like a beacon calling him forward. But the tension between his ambitions and Lamborghini's willingness to embrace change reached a point where compromise was no longer an option. In the shadow of this conflict, the seeds for his departure were sown. The composite king, a man who redefined the very framework of high-performance vehicles, was preparing for a grander stage. His work would end up sparking a revolution not just inside Lamborghini but across the automotive world. But he would not stay to see it unfold. Horacio Pagani's time at Lamborghini was a crucible of invention and resistance, a battle fought with carbon strands and steel resolve. His legacy there is undeniable. A transformative force who pushed the boundaries of materials and left an indelible mark on supercar engineering. Yet the story was far from over. As the composite king prepared to walk away, the world outside was about to witness one of the most audacious challenges the industry had ever seen. An underdog ready to take on the giants, armed with nothing but vision, grit, and carbon fiber dreams. The decision to leave Lamborghini was no light matter for Horacio Pagani. a man who had carved out a reputation as the pioneer of composite innovation amid one of the automotive industry's fiercest powerhouses. But it was also inevitable. The more he pushed against the corporate norms, the tighter the walls around his vision became. His departure was both a heartbreak and a bold proclamation. If his ideas were to live, they would need the freedom of his own creation. Having redefined what was technically possible within Lamborghini's walls, Horacio found himself repeatedly starved of resources and respect. The conservative board viewed his continual demand for investment in cutting-edge materials and unconventional designs as reckless, a gamble too costly in an industry dominated by tradition and prestige. Watching his visions be watered down or shelved was a slow agony, but it also steeled his resolve to break free. The irony of the situation was not lost on Horacio. Here was a man creating revolutionary technology for one of the most iconic supercar brands, yet denied the chance to claim his own legacy. His relationship with Lamborghini was a paradox, a creative force shackled by corporate inertia, his genius simmering beneath the surface. Those closest to him described him as a prankster at heart, who took every setback almost playfully, knowing that every joke he pulled on the industry was part of a larger strategy. In the midst of this, Horacio laid the blueprint for what would become Pagani Automobili. Rumors of his plans rippled through the automotive circles, dismissed by many as a reckless dream of an idealistic outsider. They laughed at the idea that someone could compete with titans like Lamborghini, Ferrari, or Porsche. But little did they know, Horacio's vision was far more severe than mere competition. It was a revolution poised to bring about a new dawn in automotive excellence. His breakaway was marked by an audacious gamble, investing everything he had into a tiny workshop, an elite team of loyal craftsmen, and radical prototypes that roared with promise. The skepticism he encountered was palpable. Critics dubbed him mad, warning that the industry would chew him up and spit him out. But Horacio found strength precisely in that adversity, driven by an unshakable belief that his commitment to detail and innovation would rewrite the narrative. Leaving Lamborghini was an act of tremendous courage that many would never dare. With nothing but raw ambition and a radical idea about materials and performance, Horacio bet on himself in an industry where giants ruled by heritage and capital. The prankster had cast aside the comfort and stability of a famed name to chase what others considered an impossible dream. This bold breakaway was also a rebuke, a message to the old guard that the era of complacency was over. Horacio set out to build not just cars, but legends. His philosophy was simple: to create machines that weren't just fast and beautiful, but that pushed the very boundaries of engineering. In this, he was both an artist and a warrior, challenging norms with a precision few could match. Behind the scenes, the fledgling company faced enormous challenges. Financial uncertainty, technical failures, and mounting pressure created a crucible that tested Horacio's leadership and vision. Yet, the grit honed in Casilda's bakery and the crucibles of Lamborghini's workshops fortified his resolve. Every obstacle was met with relentless creativity and an unwavering commitment to perfection. By choosing to leave the bull behind, Horacio wasn't just escaping a stifling environment. He was stepping into the unknown with the roar of an engine destined to redefine speed, luxury, and craftsmanship. This chapter of his life closes with him on the brink of something extraordinary, where the world would soon witness the birth of a legend crafted from carbon fiber, passion, and an unyielding desire to conquer. In the dimly lit corners of a small workshop, bordered by scraps of carbon fiber and engine parts, Horacio Pagani's relentless pursuit of perfection was about to reach its crescendo. This was no longer the makeshift space of a dreamer. It was the crucible where legend was forged. Every beam of light illuminated the faces of his dedicated team, fiercely committed to a singular vision: to craft a supercar that would eclipse the giants, an artifact of art, innovation, and unyielding ambition. The early days of building the Zonda were a tumult of technical challenges and sleepless nights. Pagani, fueled by his past rejections and the fire of personal conviction, dared to push past every limitation of existing automotive. His obsession with weight reduction and structural integrity led him to master the art of combining traditional craftsmanship with cutting-edge technologies. Every component, every bolt, was meticulously designed to serve a higher purpose: speed fused with beauty, power fused with elegance. The development process was grueling, often bordering on obsession, as Horacio demanded nothing but perfection. The team worked tirelessly, fabricating bespoke parts that reflected his unique philosophy, an obsessive focus on the synergy between form and function. The shape of the car was as much a product of artistry as of engineering. His obsession with aerodynamics and the smell of fresh materials created a product that was both a technological marvel and a visual masterpiece. But the road to the triumphant debut of the Zonda was fraught with setbacks. There were countless prototypes that failed to meet his exacting standards: engine overheating issues, structural weaknesses, and weight distribution problems. Each setback tested the resolve of Pagani and his team, but they refused to give up. Every failure was a lesson. Every success propelled them closer to the realization of a masterpiece that defied industry norms. Behind the scenes, the world watched with skepticism. Small-scale workshops rarely produce icons that challenge the giants, but Horacio's unwavering dedication and meticulous craftsmanship began to turn skeptics into believers. Car critics marveled at the carbon titanium build, and racing teams started to take notice of the Zonda's performance potential. Slowly, what was once a hobby project driven by dreams became a serious contender in the high-stakes world of supercar manufacturing. As the first prototypes roared to life, the true test awaited public debut. The pressure was immense, each detail scrutinized by insiders and aficionados alike. When the Zonda finally took its first official lap, it was a thunderous declaration. Horacio Pagani was no longer just a dreamer. He was a creator of legends. The car's aggressive stance, complemented by whisper-quiet aerodynamics and a roaring V12 engine, mesmerized critics and collectors worldwide. This chapter of relentless effort and artistry marked the true birth of Pagani Automobili. What started as a humble workshop in Casilda had evolved into a symbol of bespoke engineering mastery. The Zonda's success didn't just elevate Horacio's reputation. It transformed him into a titan of the industry, challenging the very notion of exclusivity and prestige. Yet, beneath the roaring engines and gleaming paint, a deeper story brewed. A story of obsession, sacrifice, and a burning desire to leave a legacy. Pagani knew that to truly surpass the giants, he could not merely replicate their greatness. He needed to redefine perfection itself. The Zonda was only the beginning, and with every mile, it carried not just raw power but the weight of a dream that refused to die. This was his calling, an unyielding quest to turn carbon fiber into gold and dreams into engines of victory. The debut of the Pagani Zonda sent shockwaves through the automotive world, signaling not just the arrival of a new supercar but the rise of a bold challenger to the established order. Horacio Pagani, once the humble baker's son, had arrived on the global stage with a masterpiece that stunned critics, collectors, and even his former employer, Lamborghini. The student had not only learned from the masters but had surpassed them, rewriting the rules of performance and design with unapologetic audacity. What made the Zonda so revolutionary was not just its breathtaking speed or aggressive appearance. It was the philosophy behind its creation. Every element, from the carbon titanium chassis to the hand-finished details, was a testament to Horacio's insistence on a harmonious blend of art and engineering. The Zonda was a living embodiment of his journey, crafted with passion, precision, and an unyielding determination to dream bigger than anyone dared. The automotive press quickly took notice, hailing the Zonda as a symphony of innovation and beauty. Reviews praised its lightning-fast acceleration, razor-sharp handling, and the visceral roar of its V12 engine, which carried echoes of Italian racing legacy fused with Argentinian grit. Horacio's narrative as an underdog who defied the odds added a magnetic allure, compelling enthusiasts and collectors worldwide to take notice. Lamborghini, once dismissive, now watched in awe as the car they refused to fully embrace carved out a new benchmark in the realm of hypercars. The irony was delicious. The man they had overlooked was now challenging them not just in performance but in prestige and desirability. Pagani's journey was a powerful reminder to the industry that real innovation often comes from daring to break free from the pack. The Zonda's success opened new doors for Horacio and his fledgling company. Orders poured in from collectors who saw the car not just as a machine but as a piece of automotive art destined to appreciate. His attention to detail and personal involvement in every stage of production elevated his reputation from engineer to visionary craftsman. Each car was unique, tailored to the desires of its owner, ensuring that no two Zondas were exactly alike, a stark contrast to the mass production approach of many competitors. Behind the glamour, Horacio's team worked tirelessly to uphold the high standards he demanded. The pressure to innovate never waned, and the protective secrecy surrounding new models intensified. This relentless drive to improve not only kept Pagani at the cutting edge but also ensured the brand's exclusivity and mystique, a fortress built on the foundation of mastery and uncompromising quality. The triumph of the Zonda was more than just a victory for Horacio. It was a seismic shift in the luxury automotive hierarchy. It demonstrated that ingenuity, passion, and resilience could topple giants, carving a niche that honored the past while paving the way for the future. For the world, Pagani became synonymous with a new era of supercars where craftsmanship and technology were inseparable. Horacio's rise also reshaped the expectations of what small, independent manufacturers could achieve. His journey was now a blueprint for audacity and excellence, inspiring countless entrepreneurs, engineers, and dreamers. The once ridiculed baker's son had not only gained respect, he had become an icon, proving that greatness is forged in the fires of persistence and vision. As the applause for the Zonda resonated across the automotive world, Horacio Pagani stood at the pinnacle of his career, the student who outclassed the masters, the underdog who rewrote history. The narrative of rejection, struggle, and ultimate triumph was complete, yet it also marked a new beginning. The legacy of Pagani was now etched in the annals of automotive lore, a testimony to the power of dreams and the courage to pursue them no matter the odds. As the dust settled and the roar of the Zonda echoed around the globe, Horacio Pagani's journey evolved from an individual triumph to a lasting legacy. Today, Pagani Automobili stands not just as a manufacturer of exclusive supercars, but as a symbol of relentless innovation, artisanal craftsmanship, and the power of defying odds. From a humble bakery in Casilda to the pinnacle of automotive artistry, Horacio's story is a testament to visionary audacity and tireless pursuit of perfection. Pagani's cars, including the successor to the Zonda, the Huayra, embody a sublime blend of technology and handcrafted detail. Every inch of these machines tells a story of engineering excellence fused with artistic expression. Carbon fiber and titanium are not mere materials here. They are elements of a legend, hand-woven and meticulously tested to ensure that performance meets beauty without compromise. This meticulous attention to detail has set Pagani apart in an industry dominated by mass production and predictable formulas. Despite their exclusivity, Pagani vehicles are far more than status symbols. They are a rolling testament to human creativity and resilience. Each car, limited in number and crafted with personal involvement from Horacio himself, pushes the boundaries of what is mechanically and aesthetically possible. This dedication has cemented Pagani not just as a niche manufacturer, but as a global beacon of luxury and innovation. The impact of Pagani extends beyond the automotive world. It has inspired a new generation of engineers, designers, and entrepreneurs to embrace risk, creativity, and uncompromising standards. Horacio's belief that perfection is a constantly moving target encourages continuous evolution, whether in aerodynamics, materials, or bespoke customization. His story encourages us all to rethink what hard work and passion can achieve when fused with vision. Yet, at the heart of this legacy lies more than technological triumph. It is a deeply personal tale of overcoming rejection and navigating an unpredictable industry with tenacity and grace. The baker's son from Casilda long ago proved that greatness is not inherited but earned with sweat, patience, and an indomitable spirit. As we look to the future, Pagani Automobili remains committed to pushing the limits. New projects continue under the watchful eye and hands of Horacio, blending cutting-edge innovation with timeless artistry. It is a promise that the legend is far from over, that for Pagani, the journey of transformation and excellence is perpetual. So here we are at the end of this extraordinary saga. From the smell of fresh bread and sawdust to carbon fiber masterpieces that redefine speed and beauty, Horacio Pagani's life is a beacon for dreamers and doers alike. If the story inspired you, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to explore more legends of motor history and innovation, make sure to subscribe to Motor Chronicles, where the saga never ends. In the grand tapestry of automotive history, Pagani's legacy shines as a testament to the power of vision, resilience, and daring to build your own path, even when the world tells you no. That, dear viewers, is a story worth celebrating, sharing, and embracing as we drive forward into the future, fueled by the spirit of a baker's son who beat the giants at their own game.